Hey everyone, I'm your host, Emily Lauren. Welcome to the Body Positive Podcast, where we ditch diets, normalize real bodies, and help you feel better in your own skin. Welcome everyone to the Body Positive Podcast show. Today I have Jules with us on the show. She recently launched her biography, The Making of a Woman, as told by Marlena Glynn. She is here to talk to us about how childhood trauma has affected her body image and how she was able to come out on the other side of this troubled life. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today.
Yes, I'm very excited. Thank you.
Thank you. So without giving too much away, can you tell me a little bit about your upbringing?
I was raised in the Midwest, and so both of my parents worked. It was pretty much a low income family, and after my mom divorced my first father, I then became one of four children. And
Wow.
so, yes, life changed very drastically and very
Yeah.
quickly.
Oh my goodness. So tell me about some of the experiences you had as a child. What sort of drove you to write this book?
Gosh, as you go along and you tell your girlfriends your stories, and I just kept hearing, girl, you got to write a book. You got to write a book. And I'd be like, it's no big deal. It's life. But growing up, it was like, as I said, I became one of this pack of kids. And it was really interesting as I grew up and reflected back. It's like, wow, some of that wasn't normal.
Yeah. So you had experienced quite a bit of childhood trauma. How did these experiences make you feel about your body back then?
Gosh, I think it was a blessing in disguise, but there's this disassociation that takes place. And so I was pretty much like reunited with this body further along in my life. But again, looking back, it was numb. Numb was just the word. And being a part of that pack of kids,
Yeah.
I mean, we had hand-me-downs. We went to thrift stores to get clothing. It wasn't that I got to be like a girly girl. So there was really no relationship with the body that I had growing up.
So you were very much a part of it, almost like your body was separate from who you were.
Exactly.
So what are some of the ways that you coped with this trauma that you experienced as a child, whether it was back then or sort of more recent?
I'm sorry, Emily. Go ahead and tell me the question again.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
So what are some of the ways that you coped with the traumas you faced?
Coping as a kid, I think you just do anything and everything to just stay safe. That for me meant playing very small. I was a very
Yeah.
small bodied child, so that worked brilliantly in my favor. I could kind of
Mm-hmm.
stay out of that spotlight of the family.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I grew up, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, my coping skill then became alcohol and drugs
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
relationships. And then now, of course, I'm grateful that I'm on the other side of all of that through
Yes.
recovery. And
Yes.
yes, and now it's things, oh my gosh, it's just a plethora of things. But, meditation is a huge coping tool I use today. Going to the gym. I mean, so much more healthy approaches than what I had available to me back then.
Absolutely. And your book is not just a story of getting sober. It's much more than that. Tell us how your story is different.
That's totally the truth. I was grateful to get sober. I mean, life changed drastically. It was everything that I could have ever imagined. But then it was like I got to the other side and it was like, oh, well, this is like a plateau. There's like so much more that I can be doing with the tools that I learned in recovery. And so it's so much more than just kind of hitting ground zero. Now it's this
Yes.
launching pad into all of these other areas that I didn't have access to before.
Absolutely. And was there a pivotal moment that you experienced that led you to really change the course of your life, change the direction that you had been going in?
Absolutely. I was in Texas at the time, and it was a morning after. We were riding around in a car, and I was in the back seat, and I just nonchalantly said, I just wish I didn't drink so much. And I'm not kidding, Emily. Those little ears in the front seat were almost like little antennas that came up. They were like, both of those people, little did I know, were in recovery themselves. And
Wow.
within like a 30-minute window, I'm sitting amongst, probably 50 other people in the room of recovery on my first day of sobriety.
That's amazing. Talk
And it
about
wasn't
meant
it
to
wasn't
be.
anything that I did. I think that's the most amazing part is I had no I my hands were not on the wheel.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And your story is unique, but many of your experiences with trauma, addiction, mental health are that of which many can relate to. Where did you find the inspiration to tell your story? And tell me why you've chosen to remain anonymous.
One of the beautiful things about getting sober within the rooms of recovery is that is the place you learn to be an adult. And during those times, I experience things like sharing bits and pieces on a topic, or I'd be asked to tell my story behind the podium in front of my group. Those were things that taught me how to start telling my story in a very safe place. So now, as I meander a little bit further outside of that stage of my life, I'm very comfortable because I know that when I speak from my heart, those are common emotions that other people can relate to me with. And so, as long as I speak with that authenticity, with that love of my heart, it's amazing how many people will actually meet you there and talk about their vulnerabilities and their discomforts and challenges in life. It's an amazing, amazing gift.
I love that. So, why do you think it's so critical that we share our stories, what I like to call our real, with others?
I think because so much of the world is seen as perfect. We have two worlds. We have the outside world and the inside world. And let's face it, I love technology and I love all the beautiful gifts that we get that make life
Yeah.
so much easier, right? But I also know that some of my best times are when I'm sitting down with my girlfriends and somebody's in a heartache, and we are like right at the core of things. That is how humans connect. I mean,
Yes.
and so for me, that is the most fulfilling stage, is to be able to meet people there and give comfort and just sometimes just hold space, be messy, be you. It's amazing. I have chills as we speak about this.
Right? And I think it's
Yeah.
so important that we normalize these things because it takes away some
Yes.
of the shame that we can experience by holding them back. So
Yes.
I've read that experiences with shame in terms of experiences like yours have played a large part in feeling disconnected from your body. How do you feel about your body today?
As you can kind of tell as I'm telling my story, it has been a process.
Yeah, absolutely.
It did not happen overnight, and it's not
Yes.
going to get fixed overnight.
No,
And right
absolutely
when you
not.
think you have it, you don't. So let's just put that out there. Um,
Yes.
for me, it was like that physical part. For me to get sober, I physically had to look at where I was at, along with what I was putting in my body, and I think that set that platform for me to then have a clear mind and move forward. And so for me, because of the disassociation and detachment I had from my body, it was very important for me to do something physical. Now, little did I know at the time when I started going to the gym, Emily, it was simply to relieve the stress of getting sober. I was
Yes.
so angry. I had so much rage in me. I mean, it was the only tool that was at the degree that I needed it to be, to relieve some of that. And then what happened is I started to realize that this anger, which I used to try to hide, was really powerful in this arena. And
Yeah.
so what happened is then, of course, you start putting that much effort and energy into something, you start seeing these changes. And I started to realize how much more relaxed I was, how better I slept, how better I ate. But then I started to see my body taking change. And that was like the icing on the cake. It was an unbelievable experience. And I think with anything, it's like, oh, I want more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's
Yeah.
the thing with fitness too, is we have to realize that fitness is not just about weight loss. It's about so much more, moving your body. And I think a lot of people avoid sometimes exercise because they think, oh, it's only related, if you think of it as only an outlet to lose weight. But for you, it's been so much more. It's been a way for you to reconnect with your body. And I think that's incredible.
Yes.
So you live a different lifestyle. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. This is the exciting part, I think, about, making it to the point that I've made it in my life is, as I've discussed, it's like I turn inward, I see what works for me, what's not working for me, the dogma, the societal pressures. And so as this is morphing and I'm becoming the woman I'm supposed to be, I then find the truth within my sexuality as well. And then, so at the present, I am in a very loving, fantastic marriage with a very open-minded man.
That's
And
fantastic.
when we first started dating, I had told him that I'm involved with a woman. I have no intentions of changing who I am for anybody besides myself. And the most surprising thing is he said, okay. I didn't even know that was an option. Like I didn't even realize. And so then this is like a kid in a candy store. It's like, oh my gosh, if I'm just honest with myself and the person I'm involved with, you know, I, I can pretty much I can pretty much have what is true to me. And
Yes.
so my husband and I have been together now for 7 years, and there has been some extremely uncomfortable conversations because these are areas we usually don't go in. But to have that courage to sit down and say, ugh, this didn't feel right, or this felt really awesome, let's do it again.
Yep.
And that takes a lot of courage.
Absolutely.
It's been worth it. It's really been worth it.
I think that's incredible. And I think that for women especially, we are really taught to hold back our sexuality, that it's, taboo, and that we need to align with these sexual norms out there. How can we have some of these conversations? How can we change? How can we talk about them with our partners, with the world? What can we do?
One of the things that are on my path is as a female dominant, which is kind of in that sexual genre. Um, During learning about that portion of my being, I then realized there were other women who were very supportive and understood our role as women in life. We have this amazing ability to give birth, to bring families together. I mean, we're this amazing divine force. And so for me, it was sitting down and recognizing that in other women and then recognizing it within myself.
Yes.
And so this is where this huge, unbelievable empowerment started taking place. And then I would then also see how the people around me started to react when I was in that mindset, when I was that confident woman with my chin up and I was smiling. And I mean, it had nothing to do with what I was wearing. It was that energy that was coming alive. And the more I learned about this, the more I understood that's what the majority of the men in my life ever wanted. And I was afraid to go there because I thought I
Yes.
was going to be too fill in the blank, too much, too
Yes.
bit,
Too
yeah,
much.
whatever,
Yes.
whatever.
Yes. I
Yeah, so it was a
love
great
that.
surprise.
I
Yeah.
love that. And would you say that your lifestyle has been an outlet for you to really reclaim yourself from the objectification that you experienced over your life?
When I think about that particular word as like an outlet, it didn't sit well. It's like, is it an outlet?
Hmm.
I think my life is actually a byproduct
I like
of
that. I like
working through
that.
things. Yes, because
Yes.
an outlet is something I escape from or something,
Yes.
spontaneous. And it's really the opposite.
Hmm.
Like I live all of this because I don't have to run from it, because I don't have to,
Yes.
take a leap out there and try something different.
Oh, I love that. I think that's so important, and you have reclaimed yourself, right?
Absolutely.
From all that you've been through. Is there anything else in particular that has helped you heal these emotional wounds that you've experienced? Did you ever receive professional support, or have you done more self-healing on your journey to really finding yourself?
It's been a mixture. It has
Mm-hmm.
been a total mixture. And what I've noticed is when I have learned how to sit in that stillness, in that meditation, where I turn the world off and I just turn inward and I just listen to my heartbeat. I
Mm-hmm.
listen to, the air come into my lungs. What I find is what I find is that I can really connect with where I'm at. And
Mm-hmm.
so what happens then is I can then become very mindful of what's around me, almost like I'm witnessing it. And
That's
so, for
amazing.
instance, I call them my God in skins. I
Mm.
will have a conversation with somebody who'll be like, "Oh, have you ever tried blah blah blah?" And if it resonates with me, I look into it.
Yeah.
I've met people on the plane on my way home who have been into energy healing, and I was like, this is so resonating with me. And so this is how source guides me along by the
Mm-hmm.
things that are going on around me. Things as simple as like an Amazon suggestion of the next book I should read.
Right?
If it resonates, I grab it. How can I go wrong? And so in fact, I'm working with a therapist now. That just recently came back into the picture.
Mm-hmm.
But I do my meditations, I do my energy work. I've done some magnificent women's workshops, So really, it's whatever source puts in front of me and what
Mm-hmm.
I resonate with. Sometimes I just don't want to.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that whatever help and whatever works for you is what you should be going after and being
Yes,
inspired.
absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
So tell us where we can find your book and where we can find you online.
Oh, yay. The name of the book is The Making of a Woman. And so what we've done is we've created a website where you can go and find everything you need, all the links, all the platforms, all of the such. So that is www.themakingofawoman.com. And I have an upcoming book launch party that's taken place in about a month. So right now
Exciting.
she's in pre-sales and you can get it on Amazon, of course, everything through the website. But I also have a newsletter that every couple weeks we send out and give everybody the update. So even though you may not be in the same area as I am, you can virtually join me for the book launch party, for instance.
That
So
sounds
a lot of cool things
fantastic.
on that site. Yeah, check it out, definitely.
Awesome. I love it. And lastly, if you could offer one tip to our listeners, what would that be?
Mm. What comes to mind is as I was struggling, having no direction, wondering what the heck, I look back now and I would say you are exactly where you belong, doing exactly what you are supposed to be doing. Keep going.
I love that. Oh, that's so beautiful. And it was such a pleasure speaking with you today. I can't wait to read your whole book
Yes.
and learn more about your story because I just love when we share our reels. So thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yes, Emily, thank you so much. This has been great.
Once again, thanks for listening to today's episode. Make sure you follow us at Real Happy Daughter and please share this with someone who needs a little more real in their life.